Okay, so let's get right into it. You know, we tend to think of global capitalism as this massive, unstoppable force, right? All driven by markets and innovation. But what if the very ground it's built on is starting to crack? In this explainer, we're going to dig into a really critical analysis that looks at how the slow, quiet erosion of the rule of law, both on the world stage and inside countries, might just be setting us up for the unraveling of the entire global economy. So, listen to this quote. Justice, stability, and dignity could be something more than a fading memory. Now, that's actually the last line of the analysis we're looking at today, but I wanted to put it right up front. Why? Because it just perfectly captures what's at stake here. This isn't some dry academic debate about legal theory. We're talking about whether the very things that hold our societies together are, well, becoming just a memory. So here's the absolute heart of the issue. Those legal systems we've always just assumed would be there, the ones that are supposed to be predictable and fair, well, they're being weakened, and not by accident. And look, this isn't just a headache for lawyers or judges. No, this is a direct threat to the entire economic framework that, as it turns out, completely depends on that stability. So let's break down exactly how this is all going down. All right, so where does this whole thing begin? Well, the unraveling starts at the very top, on the global stage. For decades, you could think of international law as the guardrails on the highway, keeping countries more or less in their lanes. But the problem is, those guardrails are now being taken down, one piece at a time.
Okay, pacta sunt servanda. I know, it sounds super academic, like something out of a textbook. But trust me, this is the absolute bedrock of how countries work together. It literally just means agreements must be kept. That's it. It's this simple but incredibly powerful idea that when a country gives its word, it means something. And when that idea starts to get ignored, the whole system of trust that holds the world together, it just starts to fall apart. And this isn't theoretical. We're seeing it happen right now, in real time. We're way past minor disagreements here. We're talking about powerful governments just openly breaking laws. They're pulling out of treaties that they themselves helped write, and they're actively getting in the way of international courts, the very bodies meant to hold them accountable. This has gone from just bending the rules to what looks like a full-on campaign to tear the whole system down. And if that doesn't worry you, there's a really chilling historical parallel to think about. Back in the 1930s, right before World War II, institutions like the League of Nations were basically just swept aside by rising fascism and militarism. The argument in this analysis is that we're living through a similar moment, that the whole post-war system of agreements and courts is being washed away by this new tide of intense nationalism and raw power politics.
So you can probably see where this is going. It sets off a chain reaction, like knocking over the first domino. When big players on the world stage break the rules and get away with it, it sends a very clear message to everyone else. Laws are optional. And that attitude, that lawlessness, it doesn't stay at the international level. It starts to trickle down, seeping into the legal systems within nations themselves. And make no mistake, this is happening everywhere. It's a truly global thing. You look at the US and you see courts becoming incredibly polarized, long-held traditions and norms just tossed aside. You look at places like Hungary or Slovakia, and you see a methodical political capture of institutions that are supposed to be independent. The point is, this isn't just one or two bad actors. It's a pattern, a widespread decay. So what's the ultimate result of all this? Well, here's the really crucial part. Law is supposed to be a shield, right? It's there to protect everyone, especially those without power. But the moment people lose faith in it, the moment they stop believing it'll be applied fairly, it changes. It stops being a shield and becomes a weapon, just another tool for the powerful to hang on to what they have. It's no longer about justice, it's just about power and convenience. Okay, so laws are breaking down. Big deal, right? Why should that specifically matter to capitalism? Well, here's why. Modern capitalism isn't just about factories and trading floors. At its core, it is a system built piece by piece on a foundation of legal trust. You have to believe the rules are real and will be enforced. Take away that foundation, and the whole building starts to wobble.
And you can literally watch the dominoes fall. Step 1, international law gets ignored. Step 2, that gives a green light for national laws to erode. Step 3, as the rules get shaky, investor confidence completely vanishes. I mean, who would invest in chaos? And finally, step 4, without that confidence, the whole market system, which runs on trust, just breaks down. It's a straight line from A to B to C to D.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Would you invest your life savings in a country where the government could just decide to take your property tomorrow? Would you sign a big business contract if you knew the courts were a joke and would never enforce it? No way. Of course not.
Law provides that predictability, that basic set of rules that makes business even possible. It's what protects your stuff, makes sure deals are honored, and generally keeps things running smoothly. Without that, money doesn't just walk away, it runs. Now, you might be thinking, we've had economic crises before. And you're right. But the argument here is that this time is fundamentally different. Think about it. Past crashes, even the Great Depression, happened inside a legal system that, for the most part, still worked. There were courts, rules, a framework to eventually sort things out and restore order. What's being described now is the collapse of the framework itself. It's like having a flood without having any ground left to stand on.
So, if this trend keeps going, what's the end game? What does that world actually look like? Well, the analysis paints a pretty grim picture. It's a future where the entire rulebook for how our society works gets thrown out the window.
And this is a really profound shift in how everything works. Forget success based on having a good idea or working hard or being innovative. In this world, success is all about who you know, who you're loyal to. Getting ahead, making money, even just staying safe, it all depends on your connections to the people in power. It's basically like rolling back the clock, moving away from a market society and into something that looks a lot more like a feudal system.
And the consequences of that are, well, they're severe. A world without dependable laws is a perfect breeding ground for authoritarian rulers. It's a world where society splinters into warring tribes. That unspoken deal we all have, the social contract, where we agree to follow the rules because we get stability and protection in return, in this future, that contract is torn to shreds. Which brings us to the final and frankly haunting question posed by this analysis. If the whole system of law and the market economy that depends on it both fall apart, what rises up to take its place? Are we looking at authoritarian regimes, a return to some kind of localized barter system, or just a constant, brutal fight over resources? The analysis doesn't pretend to have the answers, and that leaves us to think about how urgently we might need to fix these foundations before there's nothing left to stand on.